This video is dedicated to these mobile games that are no longer in the App Store, MetalStorm Wingman and MetalStorm Aces. So other than these mobile games I also enjoyed, Angry Birds, Doodle Jump, Coin Dozer, Fruit Ninja, and Flower Warfare. Hopefully this video will give a nice glimpse on the two mobile games I enjoyed. So around the closing years of my interest in mobile games, 2011 to 2013, at some point I came across MetalStorm Wingman. It was a game that set me on a path of understanding game mechanics I wasn't familiar with. While other mobile games I played did have something similar, I recall this game did take it to quite the extent of having upgrades taking at least 24 hours to complete. And again, similar to other games, there was one currency that did take a lot of time to acquire, in which you can actually use this currency to bypass this long wait time for upgrades by purchasing more of this said currency with real money. But what about lore surrounding the universe of MetalStorm Wingman and MetalStorm Aces? Good question. So in the first game, you play in the perspective of a new pilot who goes by the alias Atlas, who was a part of the Legion's Royal Air Force, taking along with your own set of ships and two other pilots, Commander Vargas and Lieutenant Copperhead, investigating the disappearance of the LS Dominus, a nuclear carrier. And throughout 4 of the 5 missions in MetalStorm Wingman, you will face off against the Markovian rebels. And even in the first mission of the game, there's a clear indication of those who either defected to the Markovian rebellion or just Markovians utilizing aircraft from the Royal Legion. But to get back on point, in the second mission, you face off once again taking out Markovian enemies and destroying a set of factories in which unfortunately are staffed with Markovian civilians who are workers of those places but mutinied. After that, in the third mission, this is where I would consider the height of the game's miniature campaign. This is where you finally locate the LS Dominus, whose captain is revealed to have joined the rebellion, and unfortunately, once again, even though Commander Vargas requested to talk down the captain of the ship, this did not sit well with Admiral Durant, who initiated the nuclear carrier's self-destruct sequence that killed Vargas before she could tell us anything.
Alright, that's enough. Port Crescent Fleet, stand down. Your request for parley has been granted, Commander.
I'm coming aboard now, Captain. Copperhead, you have the command.
Helios, this is Admiral Durant. Why have you called off the attack on the Dominus?
The Dominus wasn't captured, Admiral. Captain Nyman defected.
You think we don't know about Captain Nyman's treason? Those were not your orders, Lieutenant.
The Commander is trying to talk him down right now. We need to give her time to...
Time to what? To plot? I've heard enough. The Dominus is unrecoverable, and the Markovians are in full rebellion. Ensign, we're within range. Initiate the Dominus's self-destruct protocol on my mark.
Copperhead, come in. You're not going to believe this.
Mark.
In the fourth mission, this is where you actually don't face off against the Markovians, but another enemy, who are a group of pirates called the Winged Serpents, who tend to utilize A-10 Thunderbolts as their main choice of aircraft. Then, in the final and 5th mission, you are given a nice glimpse of Port Crescent, and to keep things short, yes, this does end with the Legion taking victory, as well as Admiral Durant granting promotion to most of the crew except for Copperhead, poor guy, and once again showing another great view of Port Crescent when the mission concludes. Now, for MetalStorm Aces, this game does see some opposites of what the first game did. So in MetalStorm Aces, there are more missions, and each campaign level design is a step up from what the first game did. More detail and more props, whereas the first game had the opposite. MetalStorm Wingman's maps contained pretty much no buildings. for the most part, but just natural terrain. Again, I'm talking about the multiplayer maps. Whereas in Aces, you see more detail, more buildings, and you can actually play the campaign maps in multiplayer as well. So what about the aircraft in both games? Similar to how some games would include real guns, but renamed to something else. So to provide some examples, in MetalStorm Wingman, you have the D7 Wartusk, which is clearly an A-10, and the F113 Eagle X, which appears to be the in-universe's equivalent to the Su-47. In MetalStorm Aces, this is where technology definitely seems to be more advanced, and the idea of modifying an aircraft is taken to quite the extent. If you don't believe me, the hint is actually on both games' cover artwork. Here you will notice MetalStorm Wingman's game cover, showing what appears to be a Harrier jump jet taking aim at a F-15, whereas in MetalStorm Aces, its cover shows the following. In the foreground, you have the Phoenix, which is the in-game universe's F-14, and right behind it, you have the Predator X, which is an upgraded A-10, and right above the upgraded A-10 is the Anarchy, which is a heavily modified YF-23. Everything about this heavily modified YF-23 has lots of details to take a look at. The model of the plane on Sketchfab by the user Mario Toon, there are tons of details to pick out. Other than the tinted canopy, you have the exhausts that have gone through a major change, and then there's all these teal patterns across the top and bottom of the aircraft. I also wanted to close off this part of the video with something I never thought about until these two games came to mind today. It has to be the limited amount of lore we get about what happened in MetalStorm Aces. In the opening cutscene, it makes a clear indication of the Aces betraying the Markovians and then flying off to their own territories. Now, this is where my mind actually got stuck thinking about it. There was never any official source indicating when the betrayal actually occurred. Either it took place during the first game, or this is an occurrence that took place after the first game. Likely the Markovians we see in MetalStorm Aces were another set stationed away from the conflict in the first game. I also wanted to close off this video to talk about an artist I came across a while ago. Drawings 0. He makes great aviation artwork with great detail, and in fact is the artist behind the Anarchy fan art I commissioned and featured in this video's thumbnail. So the link to his Twitter page is in the description if you want to check him out. To anyone who actually worked on MetalStorm Wingman and MetalStorm Aces, whether you're a developer or an artist, if you're watching this video, thanks for making these two mobile games I really enjoyed, and great work on designing the Anarchy. MetalStorm Wingman and MetalStorm Aces brought a great conclusion to the time I enjoyed mobile games, and links are in the description if you want to see all sources shown in this video. But anyways, my name is Dragon Actual, and thanks for watching. See you next time.